I'd like to call the April 15th meeting together. Would you stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And would you call the roll?
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Goloday?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. We are all here tonight. Welcome. Welcome to everyone. And I would entertain at this time approval of the minutes of the March 18th regular meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Goloday.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any corrections, comments? Hearing none, will you call the roll?
Mr. Goloday?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carried. Turn it over to.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we usually just have one report to the board. There are just so many wonderful things going on. I couldn't help but say yes to a couple others, but keep it shorter. And one of them looks like they're organizing out there now. So I may shift the order here a little bit if that's okay. Is Darren in here? Darren, is the middle school ready to go? It's really your month.
Always ready to go.
Okay, we'll let the middle school go first.
Good evening, board, Mr. Cedar, fellow administrators and community members, both here and online. My name is Darren Prince, for those who have not met me before, and I am the middle school principal. And I'm delighted to provide with you our building report this evening. And as you know, we have a large school, roughly 875 students, almost 65 different teachers, and then with support staff, we're over 100. And it's great to have that many staff members to be able to support our students, especially at the middle school age, where it's definitely needed. One thing I'm a big supporter of is leadership. And when people think of leaders, they think usually of the person that runs the organization. And for me, I think of that every single person that works with people is a leader in some form or fashion. And so for the Army, it defines leadership as providing purpose, direction, and motivation. And I believe that our teachers do that each and every day. And in our building, we embody collaborative nature and leadership through multiple different committees, and one of which we're going to highlight this evening. This school year, we've had the Building Instructional Leadership Team. So if you wouldn't mind, next slide, please. So our Building Instructional Leadership Team is focused on high quality instruction throughout our building. And so each person that's a part of an academic professional learning community, we have a leader that comes to that committee. And as a result of that, we were able to offer you, and thank you to the board members who attended, an academic showcase that highlighted what our students and our staff have been able to do this year. So I didn't want to focus on that because you all had a chance to come in. So thank you.
And it was fantastic.
And then we also have our PBIS committee that focuses in on social emotional learning. And we've highlighted them several times. Tonight, I'm happy to introduce to you a new group of leaders. And I have to highlight Mrs. Robin Elliott, who came to us from Northridge, who is also a teaming school. And when she got to us, we talked to her about the fact that we've been a teaming school since my wife was here back in 2003. She kind of shoot me for that. 2003, when she was in the middle school, and they had teams then. But just because you have a teaming school doesn't mean you do teaming well. And Mrs. Elliott came in and she saw areas where we could make some improvements and refresh our ideas. So I'm going to invite her up here because in the spirit of leadership, I want to do less talking and allow our leaders in the building to do that. So let's go.
Okay. I come in a pack.
All right, so when I joined the team, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is that we team and that we use that team time so that we are getting the most out of it and that we are highlighting that time to be able to make it the best for our students. So each grade level and the Unified Arts are going to talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to talk generally if you'll go to the next slide. So we have had the luxury, I met Jack Brookmeyer a long time ago at Northridge and got reacquainted with him. And so we've been working with Jack for 2 years. He has come and he meets with our teams 3 times a year and kind of talks to us about the benefits of teaming and best practices of teaming. We actually did a book study this year. Everybody in the building did a book study, and it's called Successful Middle School Teaming. We used grant money to attend Jack's conference last summer. We're also going to attend the conference this summer. Teachers get time every day to plan team rewards, meet with students during the day, call parents as a team. So he's just been able to kind of highlight what that time can be used for. He also had a parent night to explain the differences in teenagers today and teenagers 10 to 15 years ago and how to best deal with them as parents, because we're learning how to best deal with them as teachers. And so he also wanted to talk to parents about how to best deal with them. So that was well attended as well. So how do teams benefit students at the middle school? So as Mr. Prince said, it kind of makes the school within a school. It makes the transition to middle school easier. So instead of having 300 students, it makes each team just about 100 kids, a little less than 100 kids. So it makes that school within a school seem much smaller. Each student gets an adult advocate, so each teacher adopts a kid that they kind of follow throughout the year. And so they learn those students' outside interests, and they watch that student academically. They plan team rewards. We have all team meetings. They keep a collaborative calendar to make sure that projects and quizzes and tests are not all occurring on the same day. Communication spreadsheets so that we're documenting when we're talking to parents. We have some model student examples, and I'll show you those. And then just consistency among the teams so that those 3 teams of teachers are making sure that they're doing things consistently. So I'm going to pass out, this is going to be kind of talked about when they do 8th grade, but you guys can just take a look at one of the model students. So Katie, I'm going to let Mrs. Smith talk a little bit about 6th grade teaming.
Hello, I'm Katie Smith, and I do teach 6th grade. And we, as a 6th grade, came up with one of our favorite Jackisms. One group, same teachers, same students, same goal. And so we really want to hone in on the goal setting and making sure that these kids really feel like they are a part of something special. Next slide, please. So we broke it down into 4 categories of benefits. So you have your academic benefits, your emotional social benefits, behavioral benefits, and parental benefits. So with academics, we were able to do peer tutoring, which makes it feel even more intimate for these kids to be able to get help without all the pressure and having kids help kids. And then test preparation coming up. We're all looking forward to that state test starting tomorrow. So we've been doing tackling the test in the 6th grade with a football theme, and we've made it team against team, which has been really fun for the kids to try to compete against the rest of the 6th grade. Emotional social benefits. We did talk about the model student. There's actually an example in front of you, and also there's one on the next slide, but we won't go there yet. And then every student has a teacher advocate, as Miss Elliott said. And one thing that I try to tell my students that are on my advocate list is that I'm not just your advocate this year. You need something next year, I'm still your advocate. Like, I try to make sure that they know that once you're mine, you're mine. And so it really makes them feel special and like they belong to something bigger than just the middle school. Builds closer relationships and strengthens social skills. We try to embed some social emotional learning within the team. Belonging to a group, making the building feel smaller, those types of things. Behavioral benefits, flexibility within the team. We all know that sometimes students don't always have the best behavior, and so having those teams being able to shift kids around when necessary really makes the whole thing flexible and just better meets the needs of students. And then being able to communicate with parents on a more uniform basis and everyone's on the same page. Next slide. So here's some pictures of examples of things that we've done. Academic challenges to really hone in on building the responsibility within those students. The top left is our madness, where we did brackets and they competed with, are they turning their work in on time? So it wasn't, did you get an A? It's, did you try your hardest and turn it in on time? So it's building that responsibility. The SEL lesson in the middle, that was growing in kindness. We did that during Kindness Week. And all of the leaves are actual puzzle pieces that the kids designed, and it put their strengths on what they thought was their strength in kindness. And so that was displayed. Tackling the test is happening now, so that's what our hallway looks like now on the top right. Example of the peer tutoring in the bottom left, and then some of those model students on the bottom right. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Megan Durbin. I'm the representative for our 7th grade teams. So you can go ahead to the next slide. So in 7th grade, one thing you'll see is across all of the grade levels, we are doing some of the same things as well. So in 7th grade, we decided to talk about one thing, which was our consistent accountability. So with middle school students, we really want to make sure we are holding students accountable to our behavior expectations. And so all of the teams have adopted some type of an accountability card that we can use to track and monitor behavior. And so the 7th grade teams all have the same idea, and we then kind of execute it what works best for our teams there. But we have, one of the ideas Jack brings is we have regular updates on kind of what our expectations we're focusing on with kids, and we're revisiting them, especially before and after breaks, definitely at the end of the year, making those regular revisions to make sure that we're all on the same page. So this also helps us be consistent across just our team in general, the 3 teams, and then across the 7th grade, we have some consistency on things that we're all looking for as well. And then with these cards, this ties into our PBIS system, which then provides rewards based on their accountability cards that they have as well. Go ahead to the next slide. In 7th grade, we also do a lot of cross-curricular activities. So we're really building a community within our teams, but also within the 7th grade on how we connect there. So we have our Greek Olympiad that we've done for years, where in 7th grade, we own a lot of costumes. So that's where the students they're like, oh, do you have this costume? And it's like, oh, I don't think I have this one at school. How many costumes do I have? And I go, at least 4. Yeah. So that we wear throughout the year. We have our big Renaissance Festival, which is always in May. Last year we brought back May Day, which is kind of track and field day again. And then we also try to have some level of a field trip, depending on what the schedule and what our availability is, and kind of cost and some funding as well. So to do all of this, this takes a lot of planning across the 7th grade and our individual teams. So we all meet very regularly with our kind of core team, and then we also meet with our subject area teams regularly as well. And then for any big planning across the 7th grade, we have big 7th grade teacher meetings to kind of touch base and plan all of those, which is great. And the next slide is just some pictures of various field trips we've done throughout the years. So one team went to the pumpkin patch. The past couple years we've been able to go to Kenyon. This year timing didn't work out, so we're not able to go. And then we've also some teams go bowling as well. So just to try to get students to, again, build community outside of the school as well. So that's part of us in 7th grade.
So I'm actually a 6th grade teacher, but I'm going to be presenting 8th grade. So they have 3 team names on here. We have Defenders, the Sentinels, and the Guardians. So they kind of have a theme similar to what 7th grade does. So they do a lot of team activities. So they did a note card where basically we all did it in all the grades, where we focused on building those relationships and what we can connect with kids on. We also created a exemplary student. So every team did this, every grade. So they all look very different because we were just allowed to run with it. So it's really cool if you look around the building at all the different teams, how different it is, but also how similar it is. So they have team meetings on Friday, and they give out awards frequently for the kids that are meeting those exemplar students. The whole 8th grade meets once a month as well. They re-explain expectations, they celebrate those kids, give awards, and they communicate with any announcements that they need. So these are pictures of some of those meetings where we're celebrating those kids. They have game rooms, movie rooms, ice cream parties, pancake breakfasts, and the spinner wheel, I believe, was from our showcase. So they are always doing things constantly with kids where they're rewarding and drawing attention to the positives. Okay, Unified Arts.
Unified Arts is kind of the oddball team where we don't actually look like the other teams, but we try to make ourselves meaningful in the building. So our student that we created, as the other teams did, is a jacket. We don't have like a Unified Arts team name. We do, but we don't really use it very much. So we made a jacket that's somebody that's representing the whole school. And we used our swarm words to create those qualities: supportive, welcoming, adaptable, respectful, and mindful. So all of our Unified Arts classes have these in our rooms so that we can remind kids that this is what we're trying to embody. Our Unified Arts team, though, and the Unified Arts classes bring some advantages for the students that they might not have if they didn't have the great variety of classes that we are able to offer our students. So some of them are able to have the same teacher for multiple years, and that really helps build that relationship from year to year. We can see a student grow, we can see when things have changed in them, and we oftentimes we'll talk with each other. When we meet, especially when we change classes, a lot of our classes are semester-long classes, and our 6th grade classes are 9 weeks. So we have to get to know the kids very quickly to reach them. So we meet with each other and share ideas of what worked, what didn't work, what to look out for, how you made a connection with a kid. So we can make the most of that time that we have with our students. Our students, I'm not just saying, this was actually in Jack's book as well, that sometimes kids come to school for their Unified Arts classes because it's different. They love you too, but it is a different environment than most of the school day. A lot of it is hands-on, a lot of it is creating. They get to be creative, they get to problem solve, they get to move a lot in some classes. So it is a part that sometimes we will see students shine at something when they might not have strengths academically. They might have other strengths that can really come out, and we can see those. And then in 7th and 8th grade, the students do have some choices in the classes that they are able to take. So we try to get everybody to get a taste of everything in 6th grade in those 9-week courses. And then when they go into 7th and 8th grade, they get to prioritize which ones that they would like. As I was saying, one of the challenges that we face with our students and for them is that those Unified Arts classes in general are 2 more teachers that they have to figure out that teacher's personality, how that teacher runs their class, what discipline is like in that classroom. And that can be a struggle for some kids when it's another transition that they have to go through. So this year we made a Unified Arts discipline plan that we go through. So every teacher has their own way that they run their classroom still, but the course of events that a teacher follows if there's an issue is the same for everybody. And when the teachers meet with each other, we'll even say, like from 1st semester to 2nd semester, look, this kid went through the whole plan and he knows or she knows, what the expectation is. So don't let them start that again when they come to you. So we're on them, we can be on that immediately. And you can go to the next slide. So you can see the behavior plan there that we go through, and that's good for the kids, it's good for the parents. I know it's good for administration because they can see exactly where we are and what we've done, and we have a record of that. When it comes to getting to know those kids and keeping track of the kids and being able to know who they are quickly, we're trying to develop this student info hub that we can also use that will have information about just typical behaviors that you might see, SEL issues that they might have, if there's any family things we need to know about, how they do in academics, that kind of thing, so that we can look at that at a glance and not have to go to 3 different teams in 3 different grades to find the answers that we need to have it all in one place. Okay, I think that's it then. That's our teaming at the middle school.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Any
I
questions?
have a question.
No questions. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll give you one. So you talk about rewarding behavior in classrooms. Do you find you're rewarding the same students, or do you feel like you're starting to encompass some of those students that maybe not always get those positive or those academic rewards?
I can take that question. So in 6th grade, we're constantly doing that,
Okay.
and it depends on the week. So a lot of times it changes.
Okay.
Frequently, we have a room where they get more attention if they need work time, and if they have no strikes, as we call them in my team, they get to go outside and have fun. So there's a reward to getting that and getting outside and having recess.
Okay.
So typically, it has changed every week with which kids are in that group.
Okay, great.
And I just had a conversation, I had a conversation with a 7th grade teacher about this, and they intentionally try to catch some of those kids that maybe wouldn't typically be those kids, and they try to get those kids so that they can get those kids recognized. So we're trying to do the best that we can to get not only those typical kids recognized, but more kids recognized for those rewards.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to add.
Perfect.
Something else,
No,
Jody?
go right ahead.
I have a question. Thank you so much for the great presentation.
Yeah.
On 7th and 8th grade, do you take physical breaks or mental breaks so that the kids aren't constantly concentrating on one thing, or is it just you're so packed with all your requirements that you don't have time for that?
It's interesting. One of the things that Jack talks about is that one of the things that we learned when we went to the conference last year is kids need those breaks. So game breaks are so important for kids. So even in classrooms, I was in a classroom today for math, and they were doing an Oregon Trail. So they were still doing math, but it was an Oregon Trail, so it was the game Oregon Trail, but he had moved it into a math situation. So they were still figuring out, I don't know whether you're familiar with Oregon Trail, like the old Oregon Trail, but they still had to figure out how many oxen they wanted to take, how many pounds of food they wanted to take, how many sets of clothes they wanted to take. But instead of just picking that, he added sales tax to it. So they had to figure out the sales tax. And so when they got to a river, instead of just saying if they were going to go over the river, they had to figure out how much the river in the last year had risen and fallen. So he added a math aspect to it. So they're incorporating a lot of project-based and learning and games in their lessons.
Good, that's great.
I would say just part of the nature, at least in 7th grade, my team, and then the math, the people we work with, is that's just part of being a middle school teacher, is making sure that you are having a variety of instruction, not only day to day, but within the classroom, you have it kind of pieced out so that kids are constantly having that new moment of introduction to what you're doing in your classroom.
Right, and I can speak to 8th grade science just because we talk. I know that they are constantly doing hands-on, and they are incorporating more and more and more than they have in the past year. So it's a focus for sure.
And I know I do brain breaks. So if I know that they are going to be sitting for a while, I purposely will put something in where I'll say, okay, everybody get up, and we'll do different activities. It might be rock, paper, scissors tournament, and then we sit down and then we finish, but it gets them up and moving.
Great, thank you.
I love the idea of teacher advocates, and so the fact that you're kind of following them through the grades and you really develop that relationship. Maybe the question I have, I may know the answer, but it's one the board probably wonders too. If you're a 6th grade team member, how do you meet with your 8th grade advocate, or vice versa, those different folks on the board?
It's not necessarily that we meet with them, it's more just, I'm on your team, I'm in your corner if you ever need anything. Like, I'll have kids come to me
Okay.
and just pop in during their planning or during their unifieds or their flex. while I don't have the class, and just be like, hey, Mrs. Smith, this is going on or whatever, and just kind of fill me in. And we'll have a quick little 5 to 10 minute conversation. I'm like, okay, now where are you supposed to be? Because I don't know if they're skipping class to come talk to me. But they find me.
Okay.
And that note card activity that was on there, that's the adult advocate. So every year they do that. So each year they get a new advocate in their grade level. So
I
6th
see.
grade they'll have one, 7th grade they'll have another one, and 8th grade they'll have one. So every year they'll have a new one. But obviously, you'll still,
Gotcha, okay.
be watching the ones that you've had in the previous
In
years.
6th grade, I'll have 8th graders come back and talk to me.
Yeah.
And if I walk through the office and they're in the office in trouble, I'll stop and talk to them and say, well, what can we do better? So once you're an advocate, you're always an advocate. You see them in a store and you're gonna have a conversation. So.
I just wanted to say I love the idea of the project-based learning because so many times kids will say, when am I ever going to use this?
Right.
And
Yeah.
the examples that you used with the Oregon Trail, they were getting examples, so
Yeah.
that's great. Learning more valuable.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Great presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the next up on my list is a team that's getting ready to go compete, and they want to practice a little bit in front of the board. And so I'll let our FFA advisor, Stephanie Plumley, kind of introduce whatever it is we're going to see here.
So I brought 7 students with me today. I didn't bring them. They're old enough to show up. These students are juniors and seniors and officers of our FFA chapter. And we're exploring a new contest this year. We've done a lot of the trade type contests or skills contests, which these are also skills that they're going to be tuning in this contest. But as opposed to mechanical skills or soil judging skills, or other types of hands-on skills that we've done in the past. This contest is the goal of it is to explore issues that are impacting communities at the local, state, or national level. So we chose our local agricultural community, and the issue that we felt was pressing currently is the development of the Intel plant and how the ripple effects are affecting different parts of our community. So the contest, they researched, they wrote a 10-page research paper, and you guys will be the 5th board that they've presented to, and they'll present the final presentation at the state level on the 27th. So they've had to analyze the issues, and I think it's important for them to see the different perspectives. One of the requirements of the contest is that we present in a non-biased way. So if we are presenting a side that is pro whatever the issue is or for the issue, we also have to rebuttal it with someone on the negative side. So we've got 3 citizens who are going to represent community members who may be for this Intel development, and 3 who are kind of struggling with the development. So with that, I'll let Jaden, you want the podium? Oh, no, you can go ahead and take the podium and I'll do the intro.
Hey there, Madison. Looks like we're early birds today.
Morning, Ansley. Yeah, seems like it. I heard some whispers that they might be putting the brakes on the development project. Any truth to that?
Afraid so. Can you believe it? Just when we're gaining momentum?
Must be a tough pill to swallow for you, Ansley, but for us, it feels like a breath of fresh air.
Really? You're not worried about the implications of stalling progress? Technological advancements, job opportunities, all on hold?
Well, Ansley, progress isn't always measured in concrete steel. Sometimes it's in the soil beneath our feet. My family's farmed this land for generations, and honestly, some of us ain't too keen on seeing more buildings taking over our land.
I get that, Madison, I do. But you've got to admit, this town needs to evolve. We can't stay stuck in the past forever. What about the opportunity a new development brings? The chance for growth, innovation?
For some, maybe, but for others like me and my family, it's about holding on to what's left of our roots. Our way of life isn't just about survival. It's about thriving on what this land gives us.
I hear you, Madison. I respect that. But we've got to find the balance between progress and preservation, don't you think?
Perhaps we do, Ansley. Perhaps we do. But for now, it looks like we might just get a breather. From the very beginning, I've wondered if this would really go through. I've been praying not. But they've already ruined all those acres of farm ground, And as the saying goes, never count your chickens before they've hatched. Who knows? Maybe they won't hatch.
This meeting will come to order. Seeing that this is a special meeting, we will proceed right into new business. Welcome everyone to this crucial town hall discussion about the impact of Intel project on our community. We have a diverse panel of residents who will share their perspectives. Let's start with opening statements.
Good evening, fellow members of our community. My name is Brock Langenhorn, and I proudly serve as a real estate agent within our neighborhood. The advent of the Intel project has brought upon us a variety of opportunities, propelling property values to new heights and igniting a wave of economic prosperity. This surge not only signifies financial growth, but also paves the way for a flourishing community, attracting new families to our area. Knox County residents are now able to sell properties for nearly double or triple the price they would have just a few years ago. Let us embrace this moment to cultivate a future brimming with financial prosperity and promise.
Hello everyone, I'm part of the community planning team. The Intel project has brought us jobs and new technology. We want to welcome this progress while still staying true to our values and ensuring a good future for everyone. The citizens of our community have spoken. Surveys tell us that the people who have been here for decades want to ensure that we retain our rural, small-town feel. Together, we will face the challenges of staying true to our small-town identity while accommodating new growth. Besides creating jobs, the Intel project has also made our community stronger and more united, with a focus on maintaining our agrarian roots. We can feel the sense of pride and unity in our rural traditions, and people from all backgrounds have come together to support it. Let's keep working together to solve future challenges, and we're confident that we can build a future that represents our community's values and dreams.
Hey y'all, Ansley here, a farmer benefiting from Intel's innovation. The technology they're bringing in has revolutionized our farming practices, making us more efficient and sustainable. It's time we adapt and thrive in this changing landscape. Having this chip production in our backyard will make it more accessible for locals like us.
Good evening, my name is Madison, and as a sixth-generation family farmer, the development of the Intel project has presented both opportunities and challenges. While we understand the benefits it brings, such as technological advancements and potential economic growth, we cannot ignore the significant difficulties it poses to our traditional way of life. The escalating costs and taxes are pressing concerns that jeopardize our livelihoods. It's crucial to recognize and address the impact on small businesses like ours, ensuring that any development or initiatives consider the needs and sustainability of local small family farms. Our heritage, our livelihoods, and the future of our farms depend on it.
Greetings, I'm Patrick, a conservationist deeply concerned about the environmental impacts of the Intel project. In today's era of rapid technological progress and industrial development, it is important to ensure that our advancements align with our sustainability goals for the environment. We need to pay attention to the impacts of the Intel project, advocate for eco-friendly practices, and collaborate to be able to incorporate the Intel development into our environment safely. Together, we can navigate this path towards a more environmentally conscious future.
Hey, I'm Vivian, a member of our local community. While the Intel project promises prosperity, it's crucial to question its broader impact. Yes, economic growth is important, but at what cost? We mustn't overlook the potential social disparities, displacement of residents, and strain on our infrastructure. As we welcome progress, let's make sure it uplifts all members of our community, safeguarding our collective well-being for generations to come.
Let's delve into the key points. Brock, how do you respond to concerns about rising property values and potential displacement?
So we're under a time limit, I understand. So we're going to cut out Acts 2 and 3, and we'll just go into Act 4.
Brock's like, yeah.
Yeah, we're putting all the meat out.
Step to the bottom line.
I know.
In closing, let's remember that progress doesn't mean abandoning our roots. We can strike a balance between embracing innovation and preserving a cherished way of life. This is not the time to ignore what's on the horizon. We are all here today because we have a tie to the community. We all care and we all want to thrive. Understanding that development cannot be stopped, but it can be managed makes our future township planning vital. I encourage all residents to take part in your township planning.
It's not just about progress, it's about progress that benefits everyone. We need to ensure that the benefits of the Intel project are shared fairly among all members of our community. As a concerned citizen, I believe it's our responsibility to hold developers and policymakers accountable for the social impacts of their initiatives. We cannot ignore the voices of those who are being marginalized or displaced in the name of progress. It's imperative that we advocate for housing initiatives and community development projects that prioritize the needs of our most vulnerable residents. By fostering a culture of collaboration, we can create a future where everyone has an opportunity to thrive, regardless of their demographic, culture, and economic status. Let's work together to build a community that truly reflects our values of compassion, justice, and solidarity.
Change can be challenging, yet it is inevitable. The Intel project presents an opportunity for growth, drawing in new residents and fostering prosperity. We have no option but to welcome the development into our community.
The goal with today's meeting has been to get county residents working together and preparing as a community instead of each individual doing their own thing. We are not to say that this will be standardized across all of the county. What one individual thinks may be different from what another individual wants. But the fact that we're talking and coordinating, that's the goal. Thank you to everyone for attending. I do not see this as the end of our conversation on the issues facing our community. I see this as a gateway for all communities affected by the Intel project to have their voices heard and their priorities recognized. We will continue to work together to ensure we embrace this change in the best ways possible. Thank you very much.
So how will this competition go? Your group will go in front of a panel of judges?
Being the first time that we've competed in this contest, I don't know. I did take a middle school team last fall to compete for the first time, which was what sparked my interest in this at the high school level. The middle schoolers loved it. They did extremely well, and I thought if they can do it, if I can do it with 8th graders, I can do it with my juniors and seniors too. So they were in front of 2 judges. They'll have a presentation that they share as well with slides and statistics as we go through. And then at the end of their presentation, they'll be questioned. The panel will question them on their understanding and interpretation of what they just shared, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, I tell you what, I was really impressed. You are all very well spoken.
Yes.
Your research is wonderful, and I just wish that our older adults would act in a more civil way. And you would be the example, because we can't get this much of listening to people's perspectives and respecting other people's viewpoints. And you certainly modeled that, so best of luck to you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much.
And would each of you students mind introducing yourselves and then telling us what grade level you're in, if we'll see you again next year, or if we're moving on to broader things? Ansley, you want to go first? You're welcome.
I'm Ansley Obermeyer. I'm a junior at Mount Vernon.
Ron Langenhorn, I'm a senior this year.
I'm Zayda Sheets. I'm a sophomore. I'm Madison Say. I'm a sophomore.
My name's Patrick. I'm a senior and I'm planning on going to college after this. So.
I'm Vivian Noble. I'm a senior at Mount Vernon.
I'm Jaden Brown, a sophomore.
Good rep, you got some good people coming back. That's awesome.
Yes, very exciting. I'm proud of them. They worked hard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
We can give another round. And
I know you guys are intrigued to see the rest of the meeting, but you are excused if you would like to get your work done.
We do have one other thing. You may want to stay. It's about 3 minutes, and I added one to this section. You know, when you see so many wonderful things, you have to share. And so I came across an exciting piece that Mr. Kirkhope in his business classes were doing, and they've been competing for 3 weeks now, and I think he's got some really neat things to share. So Chris, thanks for kind of coming on up and sharing with us this comet competition.
Yeah. So you said 3 minutes, so here it goes.
2.5 now.
Like Mr. Cedar said, I'm Chris Kirkup. I'm the business teacher at Mount Vernon High School. This is my first year teaching business. So I teach financial literacy, intro to business, business communications. I'm also building 2 programs with Anthony Savage and Mr. Coughlin for business marketing and strategies and business operations. So as part of the things that I teach is one of them is sales. So sales obviously isn't just, the typical door-to-door salesman or insurance salesman. Sales is what you do for the rest of your life. Everything you do is sales related. Kathy actually sent me an email at the beginning of March that was a competition hosted by Capital University. So the point of the project was all schools and colleges in the state of Ohio were asked to participate. It was sponsored by Hub International, which is an insurance company. Sorry, Tim. AT&T and Capital University. So Rachel Jacobs, the assistant dean, who is a former AT&T employee, had this great idea that she gives her kids mock role plays, and so she wanted to extend it and create a competition. So I asked a handful of my students to see if they would be interested in it, and I got 8 kids that signed up. So the way that it worked is they had, round 1 was a 10-minute role play, where they had to pretend that they were an AT&T salesperson, where they were pitching to a fake business, a landscaping company that was growing, so they had to learn all of the business lines of service, they had to learn the fiber internet, and they had to learn a digital assistant office at hand. So they had 10 minutes to find out what the company needed, build rapport with them, and explain the information. And just like in actual sales, the very first round was with Amy, who is the gatekeeper, the person at the front desk. They built rapport, they got the information correct and checked all the boxes. Then they moved on to the second round. 75 schools signed up. Out of that, top 25 made it to the second round, which was last Friday. Out of my 8 that signed up, all of them made it to the second round. Wow. Unfortunately, one of them was sick the day of round 2, so he wasn't able to attend. However, when we made it to Capital University on Friday, round 2 consisted of working with the IT director, who now you have to really know your stuff because that's your subject matter expert. And so they really had to figure out what the needs were for each individual employee, pitch different types of plans. And then from there, the top 25 moved to the final 3. After the second round, out of the 25 in the top 10, every single one of our students made the top 10. And we finished first, second, and third. Wow. So when we made it to the third round, it was literally the sweeping of the podium from Mount Vernon High School when they were competing against each other. So out of the students, Kyler Howard won first place. Oh, there it is. Kyler Howard won first place. Grant Masaryk, a sophomore, won second place, and Gage Coltman, a junior, won third place. The other people that participated were Dawson Nybarger, Tegan Tyson, Griffin Beach, Ethan Wheeler, Zach Harms. So it was an opportunity for them. The benefit for them winning was first place took $1,000 cash, second place took $500 cash, and third place took $250. So it's not really hard to motivate high school kids when they did that. But the great thing about it is that, they took the time, they learned. I taught them all different kinds of sales pitches, overcoming objections, how to understand what is important to a buyer. And as part of it, the judges were actually AT&T district managers, and the 3 that won were actually offered open jobs when they graduate high school. So yeah, it was an exciting day. We were grateful. We will continue to do it. We obviously have to defend our title next year.
Titles.
Set the bar.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thanks for coming in, Chris.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. If you want to leave at this point for the business section, you're more than welcome to. You're welcome to stay. We understand if you've got.
Thank you.
Gotta get ready for testing. How are you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that was a good email to send you.
It was, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
See you guys.
I just felt like when I saw that, I just felt like I needed to go.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you did.
That was fun.
That was good.
Exactly. Good recruiting. Mateo's not here today, so he isn't able to share anything with us. I'll have something to share about him when we get to my section.
And Jessica is?
Jessica?
No? All right. And Mr. Lang is not here. All right. We have one person signed up for public participation. Andrea, would you like to come up?
Sure.
Thank you.
They're not here to hear this, but my 7th grader and I both very much feel the real effects of her advocate. I'm not sure the advocate was actually assigned to her, but my child chose an adult in the school who she could trust and go to, and that teacher has definitely been there for her this year, and I really, really appreciate the 2 teachers really that she has this year that have just been really fabulous. I'd like to formally say that I was delighted to see that the middle school's door decorating contest celebrated Black intellect and Black creativity. That was a lovely message to send, not only to the Black students in the school, but messaging to all students that Black people are valuable and valued. It was heartening to witness these displays of Black culture during the middle school academic showcase last month. I was happy that my parents were visiting from out of state and they were able to be here that evening and hear my daughter play in an ensemble. However, it's essential to acknowledge that celebrating Blackness cannot stop at the doorway. This town is evolving and needs to continue to evolve. Last week, my daughter heard the N-word 8 times in one day. I said 8, and she said, yes, I counted. This is not an isolated incident or an especially challenging day. I have a backlog of emails back and forth between myself and teachers and sometimes myself and admins. Racial taunts have been and are unfortunately quite regular. While the teachers addressed last week's behavior after it was brought to their attention, clearly they need more. The kids are asking for more. And while the door displays are commendable, they underscore the broader need for comprehensive anti-racism education within our schools. Last week, I volunteered at the middle school Scholastic Book Fair. I love books. You guys know I love books. I was really disturbed to discover a case of books that had been papered over. So of the 7 cases that were there, one of them was completely papered over. And among the books, after I lifted the cover, was Angie Thomas's multi-award winning bestseller, The Hate U Give, which says on the cover, anti-racism guide included. The irony. I took a quick inventory of the books that were hidden under the cover and made unavailable to our students. Of those with an identifiable race on the cover, well over half featured a character of color. Black faces and authors are hidden from our students. They're not allowed to read about Black people. What kind of message is this sending? They're not guided in any way to discuss race. They are implicitly being told that being Black is bad. We must recognize that our commitment to diversity and inclusion requires action beyond symbolic gestures. You know, when Siemens was here, the children of those engineers made up most of the diversity that were at my children's elementary school. When Siemens left, the number of children of color went down to 3, 4, 3. 2 of them were my kids. We need to prioritize initiatives that promote inclusion and anti-racism education, and we can create a learning environment where every student feels valued, respected, and empowered. I asked my daughter as I left today, I did not know what I was going to say. I wrote this as I was sitting there, sorry, I was paying attention. But I asked her as I walked out of the house, oh, I got here early, that's what, I did get here early. I said, what do you want me to say to the board? And she said, tell them to make the school less racist. And again, this week, I'm fielding requests for her to be pulled from the school. And you know I'm such an advocate for public school. I hate vouchers with a fiery passion. But if I could use vouchers and take her to a private school in Columbus, I would. Things have to change at that school. I appreciate all that they're doing. I get that it's hard, but it's really hard to be a Black kid at this school. And my son, he talks with her about it, and he's like, yeah, that's just Mount Vernon for you. That's the way things are. But she really feels it on a regular basis. And I would please ask them to work together to foster a culture of empathy, understanding, and acceptance, because the children of the engineers that come in to work at Intel, they're not going to look like the people in this room. They're going to look like the children of the engineers who left when Siemens left. And the same is true for the construction workers, to be honest. So
thank you for sharing from your heart. Thank you for sharing your concerns. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks, Andrea. Moving on, board items for discussion. I see no items at this time, so we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
We don't have a whole lot. I did want to share a few little extra things that are just worth mentioning, but I can't help but just still feel a little bit of what was just shared, and I just don't understand it. I don't get it. As far as why people have to behave in ways that are defaming and derogatory, that's certainly something we need to continue to work on.
And I have a son that's African American, and he graduated in 12, and he felt at that point in time some of the effects as he was going through school as well. So I am very empathetic to some of your concerns, absolutely.
In this really only a couple slide update, I just wanted to share some really kind of some nice highlights, and then we'll just move right along. So the spring newsletter came out here over the weekend, and so if you have gotten a chance to look at it, there's a lot of really interesting articles reading, but you know, there's a list of different topics there that are discussed, and again, just like some of the things we saw tonight, there's a lot of exciting things going on. Reading certainly has been a focus at the elementary level, but throughout all of our buildings, there's a lot going on. And I'm really excited and appreciative for it. I have some extra copies here if anybody wants to take one home. It is on the website electronically, but we sent out 15,000 copies to box holders just to share the many wonderful things that are happening. I do want to do some congratulations. So I shared this in a board update, but really wanted to share it publicly. Yes. Mount Vernon City Schools received a 2024 Best Communities for Music Education Award. And I know for Mary, that's a feel-good kind of a thing to be recognized nationally as one of the best communities for music education awards. So that's awesome. I did want to share with you a new feature. So John Fry continues to just knock it out of the park with our website, and he gets some help from different people where he and Anthony Springer kind of teamed up, and we created some of these tabs over here, and again, a quick way to get somewhere. And so we created an arts tab, and the arts tab will take you to a page that looks like this, and you'll notice that there's home, there's art links, there's a music section, visual arts section, a theater section, and a watch section. So if you want to see a concert, you would simply go to this, click on watch, and you would get have the ability, if it's a concert that is free, of course. Unfortunately, we can't make some of our plays free because there's copyright, but just a quicker, easier way to navigate what's going on. Sometimes it's like, is there something tonight? And you're trying to find it. Here we got an opportunity to do that. So thanks to the music and the arts folks for their willingness to really make this page go. News articles that are already embedded in there, how to explore the new website, the national recognition. We're submitting artwork for state competition here. So again, just another landing spot for our folks where we're really fired up about the academics, the arts and athletics. The AAA is a nice way to go. Just an announcement, this Friday night, Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, the Disney musical Freaky Friday is going to be at the theater, and our kids do an incredible job. And so if you want to go view that, there's the times and there's the costs. And again, it's at the Mount Vernon High School Theater. This is why I had to bring Chris Kirkhope in. This is our group that went to Capitol. And when I read down through the round one, round two was like you had 90 seconds to give an elevator speech of why you should get an appointment to present your idea. And so just the fact that they're doing these kinds of things, and the fact that we took first, second, third place out of all the schools. I will have to check on this whole cash reward thing. It makes me nervous because we might have some OHSA liability stuff going on, but
sales commission.
the sales commission. We put it into their postgraduate scholarship fund. But no,
instead of cash.
yeah, that's pretty special they could do that. And Mateo couldn't be here, but if you got a chance to see it, Mateo was selected as the Knox County ESC's 2024 Franklin B. Walters All Scholarship Award winner. So really a special award for him. If you got a chance to read that article, you know, he's a pretty unique individual and very, very special. I think he's at either Yale tonight with some sort of a induction type thing, and I think Stanford's still in the mix. Mom and Dad are pulling both ways, so you know, congratulations to him. Another announcement quick, our spring luncheon. So as we send out the newsletter, we always put in our senior citizens luncheon in the fall and the spring. It'll be Tuesday, April 30th from noon to 2. And again, Jessica's already had the phones kind of going pretty regular for people wanting to come and be part of that. And we're looking to have a good day there as well. And then finally, just an informational item, 5th grade outdoor education is right around the corner. So on Monday, May 6th, Twin Oak and Columbia go for the day. On May 7th, Dan Emmett and East. On Tuesday, the 14th, Pleasant Street and Wiggin Street. It's really just, again, another unique day to take learning and take it out to nature. And so we wanted to bring that to your attention. So those are just the quick updates, and just wanted to share those with you.
Where will the outdoor education be held this year?
It's at the same location, okay. So it's a Heartland. You know, it's getting a little tougher and tougher at Heartland to try to get all the staffing. So we may start to explore some alternatives, but the experience is invaluable, so we want to keep the outdoor education.
Great, thank you.
With that said, I'll jump right into items for board approval in this section. This should go a little quicker now that we're through some of the presentations. We have board policies that were read last board meeting. This is the second reading for your approval tonight. And that in itself is the only section for approval in this section.
I would entertain a motion for board policy approval.
So
Thank you, Dr. Bennett. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Any questions on any of those? Okay. Will you call the roll?
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Ms. Revoladai?
Yes.
And Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. On to curriculum instruction and Dr. Bennett.
Okay. The articles that I'm going to briefly talk about are, the very first one is about esports. And South Euclid, Lyndhurst City, launched a high school esports team and allows students to showcase their video game skills. The league is called Esports Ohio, and they have now almost 400 middle school and high school students in Ohio. So that was an informational item that is good to know. The second article is about fostering a sense of belonging in classrooms, and it's focused mainly on college. But the posters, they said, that are in the classrooms make courses either feminine or masculine and could be negative. And they gave an example of a computer science classroom in which they did an experiment, and the posters were Star Trek and very techy and geeky. And the girls didn't want to sign up for computer science. They changed the posters and the environment in the classroom, and they had a significantly higher percentage of girls who were interested in computer science. So they were pointing out that environment does make a difference. And then the third article is about misinformation and media literacy education. And high school students took part in the University of Washington's annual Misinformation Day. And they're learning to identify a growing flood of deep fakes along with online conspiracy theories. And the escape room that they set up was among the most popular of all the events. And in this room, students broke down into small teams, and they had 45 minutes to figure out whether the rumors about a K-pop group were true, including viewing human images of faces to try to figure out if they had been AI generated or not. In 2019, there were 200 local high schools who participated, In 2023, over 500 from 6 local schools in Seattle. And this year, there were 68 teachers from 10 different states and 3 countries that registered for online training with misinformation day literacy, so they can lead the activities in their own classrooms. So I thought that was interesting. And we know that that's something that's pretty important, that kids can discern misinformation. And then the last article is about Sinclair College, which used to be Sinclair Community College here in Ohio. And in collaboration with D2 Learning, which is a learning tech company, they introduced a free cybersecurity course for K-12 administrators to understand cyber threats and to develop strategies to mitigate them. And Sinclair College has been recognized by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and it's received NSF grants to support cybersecurity education. And if you look on that, you'll see a live link. It's in blue, at least it was on my computer. It says free cybersecurity course. If you click on that, it will show you there are 3 areas, and you can actually view the course outline and click on each of those, and they'll connect you to a chat and come on and ask you, what you'd like to do. But it's free, and our administrators could participate. It's a 1 to 2 hour self-paced course, and you can view the course online and be connected to this chat to learn more about it. So I thought that would be good information for administrators to have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I found the article on misinformation just spot on. I mean, it's just so amazing how they try to, the deep fake stuff. I mean, there's little news I can just take at face value without really making sure I look at
And I think it's so important that we train our students to be thinking, is this really legitimate or not, instead of taking everything at face value. So.
We have one item in this section for board approval tonight. It's the College Credit Plus partnership agreement with Columbus State.
I would entertain a motion for the CCP partnership with Columbus State.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Mr. Ward. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Vergolidai. Any questions on that? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Ms. Regola-Dye?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes, motion carried.
I would like to just say thanks to Kathy. She heads all of this partnership stuff up, and both her and Eric have been now starting to get out to do job fairs outside of our area. They were in Columbus, had a big show, and they're planning to go to another one, trying to get some more interest from folks outside of the area to come to us. And we're getting student teachers coming from outside of the area, from Franklin State, I think. And so she's heading that up, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for mentioning that. Mrs. Forney.
Report.
Click on that. There's nothing unusual. It's just the usual report for the month, and this is for the end of March. Those are the reconciliation amounts. You can see the amounts that we have there in the banks and in our investment accounts together. This is the report that shows where we are compared to where we should be. This month, at the end of March, we were 75% through the year. The taxes are in, that's it for the taxes for the year, so we were real close on what we expected in that, just a little bit over. On the property tax, on the tangible personal, we were just a little bit under, so between the two of those, we were really close. The grants are right where we should be. That's the money we get from the state, same with the restricted grants. The property tax allocation, we know what the amount is on that. That's the rollback that the state pays us. It's going to come in at about 101%. We know what the dollar amounts are. We just haven't received it yet. But the one that's 44% will be 100%. And again, we won't get anything in those first 2 lines or that 1.05 for the rest of this fiscal year. And then if you go down to the expenditures, salaries, we're a little bit under, which is good, 72%. Now we will have some supplementals for spring sports, so I think we'll probably end up around right where we think we're going to be there. Same with the retirement benefit. We're a little bit under in the purchase services and a little bit over in the supplies. Some of that is we give the buildings, each of the buildings gets a budget. And at the beginning of the year, they sort of tell us what categories they want it in. As the year progresses, so that's what we put in here. As the year progresses, they might move it. They'll say, well, instead of purchase services, we'll put it in supplies. So some of those things, by the time we get them together, the dollar amounts are going to be right about the same. So at the end, you can see our expenditures right now are right around 73.9, and they should be 75. So that's a good thing. The investment report, at the end of March, we're up to $368,000 in our investments. Again, that's through Meter, which is a really good company, and they're really, really helpful for us. They take care, make sure that we work together to make sure that those securities aren't for too long. Because now, obviously, we're not in a situation now where money's going to be a real problem. But if you got to be close where before taxes came in, you were a little low, if you end up selling those early, you lose money. So they're really careful. They work with this. They say, hey, this is going to mature. Should we put it back in? How long should we put it for? They help us with, I look at our cash flow. So I can't really say enough about them. They're very helpful. The rest of the report is, as you can see, the cash summary, the fund balances and so forth. The next one is the appropriations modification. There are three, it's under 584. There are actually 3 grants in that. Or 2 grants. One of them is called the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant, and then the other one is called Stronger Connections. The 2 of those together, left over from last year's money and this year's money together that we spend, is going to be around $175,000. So we had to increase that. When these appropriations went in back in the last year in the spring or early fall, we didn't know we were getting some extra money from those 2 grants, so that's why those are increased. So we'll be getting the more money from those, so we have to make sure we can appropriate them. And then we have this proposal from Mr. Ashley, who works for K-12. He's helping us to go through the RFP process for food service to see if we decide we want to work with a company instead of operating it as we have been in the past. So this is just a contract that shows that we're going to pay him an hourly rate to help us get that through. It's sort of it's a long document, 40 pages or so, lots of information that we had to get for him, and he's sort of a professional at it, so rather than us kind of struggling with it, he offered to help us, obviously for a price, but he's helping us with that, so we just need the board to approve that. And then we have 2 donations. One to Power the Pen from Andy Steinmetz for $34, and one to the Washington, D.C. trip from Christopher Hart for $153. And I also will update you on the last month when you approved us being able to offer the refunds for those other trips. It was surprising. Some people said just leave it in there. Some people, and surprisingly, there were several people who had fees that were owed, so they were able to use it towards that. A couple of people had fees that were owed, and they took some of the money back a couple of times. But it was, and some people, I think there's 7 or 8 people that she hasn't heard back from yet, so we started to reach out to them again. But it was kind of interesting how it all worked out. But I'm sure the people that owed fees were like, oh, good, this is going to help me. Yes. So I appreciate you doing that.
Absolutely.
Just to maybe add to the K-12 food piece, Judy and I have been working on that for some time. So we sent the proposal up to ODU. It's so hard to say ODU, but ODE, ODU. And we believe there'll be a really quick turnaround time, at which time we'll have to have a 2-week advertising opportunity for folks who want to bid the food service contract. A lot of these companies already know this is coming, one, because this fella is pretty connected and he's told them he's been working on it. So there'll be 2-week advertising, then we'll have a showing where they can come and they can tour our facilities, because we are really unique in the way that we're serving our meals. Then they'll have a couple weeks to have their best proposal. Those are supposed to be completed for us by the end of May. This fella will help us review those. We can, during that time, we can interview any one of these companies we want. And quite frankly, we can find someone we really want to partner with, or we could say, these really don't fit the bill for us. Just to be candid, we've been using a food service company all year this year, but we've only been using the kind of the director's part of it. We've not utilized necessarily all the other things that come from it. It is really important for Judy and I know for this board, that we maintain our employees. And not all of these companies prescribe to that kind of a thing. We made it very clear in the proposal that they would remain our employees. So really the only thing we're getting is that director and then all of the ancillary benefits that might come from a food service company should we decide to go that way. Okay? So we'll keep you informed.
If the option of not going with the food service company and then bringing it back in-house, do you feel that gives us ample time to find the right person to do that?
Probably it would be a real challenge because we're a district that is big enough that we have to have a certified food service director. I mean, you just can't take mom from down the street who's a great cook, and everybody loves her. Smaller districts can do that, but a district our size, we cannot. We could have the same agreement that we have now and just have a director as we are. And then that would give us more time to really thoroughly go out and try to find the right person. I suspect that some of our conversations around our master facility planning will all kind of come into play with some of these kinds of things. We've already started to make some changes in a couple of our elementaries that have been in the works where we're serving hot food now and not everything is coming, in the little tins that you tear apart. So I think we've made some good strides to the right direction. And, there may be some other interesting news down the road that we'll share, should the opportunity arise that might be exciting in the food service realm.
Thank you for sharing that.
So I would entertain a motion for the fiscal items as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Bennett. Any additional questions?
I'd just like to remark that I think it's just so important that we keep our people and know that we value them. And I really appreciate that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? You call the roll.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Motion carried. Moving on to business services and Ms. Rebolda.
Thank you. I'll just give a shorter report than I had planned. In Governor DeWine's State of the State address, he highlighted the creation of new programs, including the apprenticeship program to shape Ohio's future educators and more school-based health centers. He also requested the legislature to expand funding for career tech education and asked them to address cell phone usage policies in classrooms. And HB 250 in the Senate Education Committee had corrective amendments, including school psychologist licensure and references to the Department of Education. And then the other one that I'd like to mention is the State Board of Education discussed changes in HB 33, which would include the grade bands from pre-K 5 and 4 through 9 and 7 through 12 to pre-K 8 and 7 through 12. However, DO has the oversight on this matter, so they'll have to discuss that with them. And there's other things, if you have questions about it, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought it was interesting that we're going back to what it used to be when I got certified.
Yes.
It's education.
Yes.
It's always a
It was
pendulum.
7-12,
Yeah,
yeah, for secondary.
Yeah, and the governor really kind of continuing to promote the school-based health centers, of which we're part of that first round. So obviously they see the benefits of that, and we're seeing some of those benefits. I think that's really
And we were getting some money for that reading initiative also, right? Isn't that
we
an
are.
outstanding?
Yep, there's some reading initiatives that we're getting some instructional materials out of that budget that he had promised. I think we're scheduled to get about $160,000. Now we have to, we have to get the material that's been vetted and approved. And we were already doing that or in the process of doing that, but that's extra money that's certainly beneficial. And boy, if they could do the school psychologists, oh, we have been struggling trying to find that position. There's a few of those that are really a challenge, so appreciate that. In this section, we just have 2 items for board approval tonight. It's the first is energy business. That's our gas consulting contract, natural gas agreement. And we're really codifying something we've been working under, but we really needed to codify our joint use agreement with Mount Vernon Nazarene University. If you recall, several years ago, we entered into some really neat partnerships, utilizing some of their property, some of our property, from our field house to the Yellow Jacket Drive extension to the bus garage. And so, you know, it's been a really neat working relationship. And I know I've met with Dr. Castleman, and he's going to lead that to a new level there at MVNU. And I feel like that partnership is just going to continue to grow.
All right, I would entertain a motion for the 2 items under business section.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Whitman. Any additional questions? Hearing none, will you call the roll?
Mr. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes. Motion carried. On to student services, and we have nothing for this evening. We'll move on to certificated personnel.
No items for information tonight, but a number of items for board approval. For this school year, the 2023, you're seeing a number of different resignations, mostly supplemental contracts. We are losing a really good reading specialist at Wigan Street. We do have some continuing contracts that are finishing up, and those are listed. We'll have a transfer and some substitute teacher information there. We also have some supplemental contracts. We do have one administrative contract we're issuing tonight. Ben Richards was a teacher in Mount Vernon when he started his career. He moved his way up, you know, through the administrative ladders, and I think is really kind of wanted to get back to students, back to the school building. He's got family that lives here, and you know, as much as I know that he kind of loves what he does, there's just a desire to get back. And a lot of us who jump into those more those leadership roles sometimes just, wow, would we love to go back and just do different things. So we welcome Ben, and we have a number of other contracts there in Section B, pupil activity contracts, assistant volleyball coach, all those for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion for the certificated staff.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Any questions? Hearing none, we call the roll.
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes. Motion carried. All right, classified staff.
Our last section tonight, we have no items for information. Number of items for board approval. You'll see the employment of pre-employment 1-year contracts there, and a couple of 2-year contracts. And we're trying to round out our summer work crew. We approved a number of them last month. And we are continuing to try to encourage some of our college students to come back and give us some help over the summer. And I have a number of those there for your approval, as well as substitute employment and 1 resignation of a bus driver. So those 4 items for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion for classified staff.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Any questions? Hearing none, will you call the roll?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes, motion carried. Move on to board member comments at this time. And Mr. Workman.
Well, thank you. I'd like to thank those that came and those that are listening in. Hard to get people here on a nice Monday evening, but well needed. But The presentations I really enjoyed. With the middle school, you know, a couple things I took from that is just, you know, the well-roundedness that they're teaching the kids, and you know, with the advocates even stretching grades. I think that's encouraging to hear. FFA presentation, very good. I'm sure they'll do well at state with that. With Mr. Kirkhope's class, I know him, and he's talked to me about that, and it was neat to hear him present that. I know he loves what he does in his class, and I know the students respond well, and to hear the results that they got at that was amazing. So that was good to hear. But you know, as we're wrapping up another school year, hard to believe. Graduation coming up next month. I'm not sure where this year's went either, but just like to congratulate all the kids on the different activities, things they've been involved in, and looking forward to graduation next month.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I too would like to thank everybody for being here tonight, including those that escaped a little earlier, but including my wife, in case somebody didn't realize. She's in the middle school faculty. Of course, I'm impressed with them. I know the challenges that go with that job. I get to live part of that. And then hearing the parents' issue tonight, I'm still processing that too, just so that you're aware. But there's still a lot of good things happening. I was so impressed with the FFA presentation, and I went to their awards banquet back a month ago, and I'm just really impressed with that group of kids. And you know, it's interesting because we've been talking tonight. There's been a variety of ways that technology has been coming into play in these conversations. They were talking about Intel. We were talking about deep fakes a little bit ago. Cyber security training was coming up a little bit ago. It's that theme has been permeating several topics here tonight, and I just think it's interesting, and that with Intel being right next door, where's this going? And where does it fall into this district at some point? And it's already starting to, because we're talking about it. So I find that interesting. But I think one of the things that really struck me, and I think it was this past Saturday, the district, the high school was hosting a boys volleyball tournament at the field house. And two of the biggest top-ranked schools, high schools in Ohio, one from Cleveland, one from Cincinnati, drove here. Now, I considered that kind of unusual, that they would, it was an early morning for us to get there, but to drive from Cincinnati to get here, and I was there and I was talking to some of the parents from the visiting locations about just how impressed, they couldn't believe that this field house was in Mount Vernon, Ohio. And I think it really speaks well about the community and what we've really put in place for this school district for our kids, that some of the best are coming here to compete. And I thought that really spoke well for what we've done. So congratulations on some good thinking in some prior years.
And more to come, hopefully.
More to come.
Thank you to those who are here and at home, and the presentations were fantastic this evening. And I was thinking when I was coming here, what are the words that I could use to express how I feel about public education? And I know that no matter what the problems we face and the challenges we face, we're always considering how we can improve. How can we make this atmosphere better for our children and our families? And it's a great way also for us to keep the communication open between families and our school system. And when there is a challenge, we welcome people to contact the teacher and then the principal and then the superintendent to discuss the issues that you have. and we hope that we will address them and continue to provide the best education that we can for our children. When I drove up, I looked at our campus, and it was so busy, and the children looked so happy. And that speaks well of our school system and our community. So thank you.
Dr. Bennett.
Well, I would just like to reiterate and thank everyone for being here this evening. And I just feel so proud of our kids. Just seeing that all the leadership opportunities they're having, they're taking advantage of it, and they're doing so well. I'm just very proud of them. And I know we're in the last stretch, last 6 weeks, so I would just encourage all of our administrators and teachers and staff and students and our parents and those who support our kids to just finish strong and encourage and support each other so that we can all finish strong.
Very well, very good. And I will wrap it up by again saying thank you to everyone for coming tonight. Mr. Prince, please give our appreciation to your staff as well. That presentation was very well done and very well thought out. And I couldn't agree more. Those connections with those students are key. As I sat and watched the FFA, I recognized a few of my students from a few years ago. And I still have those connections and bonds, and they're still my kids, as a couple of your teachers alluded to. So that is very important. And to address Ms. White, I wish we could have a conversation with parents in depth to help alleviate some of these problems that we're seeing, and we could educate even more so some of these students to alleviate some of these issues that are going on. And I know Mr. Prince will certainly address some of those and continues to address those. So thank you again for bringing those situations to the forefront. And we will continue to work on those as a district. And we appreciate knowing your concerns. So thank you for that. Other than that, we are having a great year, evident by what we're seeing in the success. Public education in Mount Vernon is real, and our students continue to exceed and meet those expectations. So thank you to our administration and staff. And last but not least, I'll give a shout out to Mr. Fry, because I know he worked diligently on that 12-page newsletter that went out, and it was fantastic. So thank you for your work on that as well. So with that, do we have a need for executive session?
No need for executive session. I would say that depending upon the number of retirees, sometimes Twin Oak is a better venue for that retirement kind of board meeting.
Yes.
And so I won't commit one way or the other quite yet, but be prepared that we may be at Twin Oak depending on how many retirees we can have.
Yes, thank you. Okay. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Regoladai.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Workman.
Mr. Regoladai?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. We are adjourned.
Thank you.